and so forth. Okay? And I guess kind of what my thought is, I'm happy to meet one-on-one or two-on-two with council people to go into any kind of detail that you would like to discuss with perhaps because it might cause something, it might not. So we have to be very careful about that. Now, in that regard, I am already currently working with about 19 community-based organizations that are non-political in the community with respect to the educational process. So as far as our office is concerned, it's all about education with respect to the community. So all I'm saying is this legislative body has to be very careful so that you don't appear in. That's all I'm saying. And as a matter of fact, I don't recall, since I've been here for 21 years, that we've ever done this kind of thing in a setting such as this.
Let me say this, if I may, Ms. Brown, and to the council. The council appoints the clerk. Used to appoint the ombudsman. And so we are elected in nonpartisan positions. We don't have to declare Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or Green Party when we run. We run nonpartisan. People don't know if I'm going to vote Democrat or Republican, but the city of Flint and Genesee County mainly vote Democrat. I don't care what other council people have never discussed in 20-some years, but we must discuss sometime what happens in elections and how it's administered. I mean, to me, if a council sat here as a legislative body and ain't discussed the voting process, the funding of it thereof in 20-some years, they sad. Because I'm going to discuss it if it's allowed. That's why we passed the motion and asked that it be on here, and that's why I'm asking it to be on governmental ops. I wouldn't care if I had to ask Mr. Newsom to bring a budget amendment for $40,000. When it comes time to vote in the city of Flint, and we are the legislative body, and we deal with budgets, and we deal with appointing clerks, my position is 21 years and folks ain't discussed this stuff in detail. We might discuss it whether we ask Mr. Newsom, I seen his head drop, to bring a budget amendment or not. Don't get upset about my discussion and my examples. Because if we hear it's a crunch why certain things can't be done in the clerk's office when it comes to voting in the city of Flint, then we have a duty and a responsibility, in my opinion, to inquire. Now, I'm not saying these are the facts, but I ain't really interested in this sometime one-on-ones because it's a lot of duplication, and I like to hear every discussion openly, and that's how I operate, open and honest in government. So I hear what's being said, but I respectfully think there's nothing wrong with a legislative body that funds all departments and even help make ordinances and policies locally to know what state law is as it relates to registration and absentee ballot voting. If we're going to discuss this, or if it's going to be on governmental ops, I would like the legal department, the clerk's office, to also have the language that I've read as it relates to absentee ballot voting and assisting. I know it's a fact that if we get 2 days out from the election and the mail is running from here to Pontiac, if 200 people call the clerk and ask them to pick up their absentee ballot under state law, the clerk has a duty and a responsibility to do it. If 500 call, I don't like to see ballots left out there. And that's how the language reads. So read, I can guarantee you that it's language in the state law statutes that allows the clerk to deputize people to help out with absentee. I want that language ran off, and I want a copy in my box. And then if others want it, I want them to have it as well. Put it in everybody's box, and I want people to read this, because in some cases, you know, I've been hesitant over the years. When I look and see 800 or 900 out there, I won't ask people to call to get them picked up, and I don't ask them to put them in the mail that late. I'll tell them to just go to the polls or something, because the mail ain't even running like that. And I don't like to see stuff left out there as one example. And so, if I have knowledge of how things can work state law, and I have knowledge that the Republicans in this last case changed a lot of the absentee ballot law, I can't control how people in Flint vote, Democrat, Republican, Green Party, or Independent, but I can have input on how we service the voting population.
Madam Chair. Madam Clerk.
With all due respect to Mr. Mays, when it comes down to election law, both at the federal level and at state level, becomes my boss. Therefore, when it comes down to absentee ballots, a lot of what happened with absentee ballots, in terms of the change in the law, was a result of some things that occurred here in Flint before I became clerk in the 1990s. So therefore, with some of the stringency, which you may see in the absentee ballot law, happened here in Flint. And therefore, we hold a very firm handle on how things are handled as it relates to AD, because of what happened here in Flint before I arrived as the clerk. Because I don't want the state of Michigan, using Flint as an example, to change the law on anything. Now, when we get calls, we get very, very, very few calls from people who want to address their absentee ballot and need to have it picked up. And when that happens, depending upon how the law reads, and we have to be careful about how the law reads, because it's really kind of like an in and out thing, we pick them up. Last minute AD is the same thing with respect to someone having to be admitted to a hospital at the last minute and so forth. So the law itself is very, very, very strict. And I'm not violating it for anybody. And I am a civil rights person. I worked on civil rights here before this major form. So I'm an advocate for voting. My parents were advocates. My grandparents and my great-grandparents. But when it comes down to the law, whether I agree with it or not, is how we have to handle it. Now, as it relates to people working in the field force, we do not have that kind of thing working in the field. We don't do that. We don't do that. But I do know that there is some suspicion on the part of people in the community that others have gone around the community, not our office, and picked up ballots and taken them to the post office, and so forth and so on. In fact, our office was accused of that during the mayoral race, and we don't do that. We do not do that. So, I should say this to you all, that when it comes down to voting, to me it's like people gave their lives to give us all that opportunity. So it becomes a very, 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 very sacrificial thing to me, something that I hold dear to my heart. And so, even though the previous councils did not do what Mr. Mays was talking about doing, they had a commitment to voting too. But guess what they did? They trusted upon the clerk's interpretation of the law, that the clerk was going to report to the state or the federal government any abnormalities or any concern that may have come up. And that's the way this split will be introduced. Because in the end, at the end of the day, there's still a lot of unanswered questions out in the field with respect to the upcoming election. To the point where before I came up here today, I called the state about something that I saw in the paper they're researching it themselves because they don't know the answer. So, while I want to see everybody go to, I spent my entire weekend making contact with key nonprofit organizations that are nonpartisan in our community, so that we can do all that we can to educate them, so that they can then go out and educate the public. And I will continue to do that.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Mays, I do have some people in line, and then I will come back to you if that's okay. Mr.
Thank
Briggs?
Don't we have in the budget for this year for a new deputy clerk?
No.
No, is it next year's budget?
Next year's budget, hopefully we'll put it in.
The reason I brought that up is it would be great if we could start training the deputy clerk before November, but,
It takes a long time to train.
Yeah, I know.
It's a lot that has to be learned.
so that's gonna be discussed next year.
I will put it as a proposal, as I do any other budget proposal I would send, bring this up to the council.
But we do have it in the budget for next year.
When I
No?
do the budget next year, I will do it.
What was that?
When I do the budget for next year, which we've not been asked to do yet, I will be putting that in the budget again.
Great. Okay.
I don't know, well, as the chair, Madam Clerk, didn't we do a biennial budget to the state? Which means that we approved 2 years of budgets, of which, if I'm not mistaken, neither of those years have a deputy clerk in them. Would that be a fair assessment? I know we're gonna redo, but we did send it 2 years.
We requested to send another budget through.
That's when it wasn't in the-
Right, okay, I just wanna make sure that we know that we accepted a 2-year budget, and neither of those 2 years had a deputy clerk, and although we always go to the last year of the biennial, I just wanna make sure that we know that according to what we sent, it is not in either of the 2 years, okay. Mr. Guerra?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a referral for discussion items on next governmental ops. One being tornado sirens or emergency sirens. I've had several complaints from residents who can't hear them. I used to test them like every Saturday or Saturday. And I have a couple areas in my ward that said they don't hear them anymore on Saturday, so I don't know if there's some that may be out. So for next governmental ops to discuss that. And a discussion item on the potential creation, which is just a separate one, of a task force who checks on landlord properties to make sure that they're up to code and that residents are being properly treated. I know some other cities have stuff like that, but the city of Flint does not have a select task force, so that those two for discussion items in the next governmental ops. Thank you. That's it.
Point of information.
What's your point of information?
Who operates these sirens now?
I have no idea.
That's why we don't discuss.
Madam Chair.
Wasn't discussing that.
Oh, it's county.
Connie? Okay.
It's county.
Councilman Mays and then Ms. Fields.
Yeah, Ms. Galloway, not just in this meeting, but what I've noticed in some meetings, I'll try not to do it when I'm chairing, but when we dialogue with Mr. Newsom, Ms. Brown, or whatever, I usually try to let y'all finish before we go in there. And you don't know what people are gonna say, but that's been something that we practice. We let people go back and forth. But anyway, I've seen it cause a problem. Keep that in mind. But Ms. Brown, through you, Madam Chair, to Ms. Brown, I kind of take offense when you talk like you talk and reference my name. I'll say this, when that happened, baby,
I didn't reference your name.
yes, you did. You referenced me. And so what you said, you didn't reference me in what happened in Flint that changed the law, but I'll share, in my opinion, what happened. That's why Congressman Kildee calls the legislation passed primarily by Republicans between me and him. He'll tell you this day. We call it the Eric Mays legislation. We woke up one morning and the headline said, dead folks can't vote. Because some folks had filled out some applications for some dead folks, and they got prosecuted. Sheriff McHale was the investigator before he was sheriff, and he prosecuted. I helped them find it. The law is the law. It ain't nobody talking about violating the law, but it's advantageous for this council to know the law. in my opinion. It's advantageous for everybody to know the law. Mr. Griggs, for example, or Mr. Guerra, or even you, Ms. Winfrey Carter, or you, Mr. Davis. Do you know if a senior citizen who lives next door to you said, hey, baby, can you drop this absentee ballot in the mail? And you say, sure, I'll drop it in the mailbox. By you having it in your possession, it's a felony. It's a felony just to have it in your possession. So if folks don't know that, we got a duty and a responsibility to let folks know and to discuss it openly. And if it's things that can be dropped in the mail by calling down here rather than you doing it because you don't know, remember ignorance is no excuse for the law, I'd rather them come pick it up. Or if somebody can be deputized, pick it up. So I'll take offense when I hear what ain't been done in 20-some years, and I make a discussion item. And I don't have to talk one-on-one or two-on-two. I can talk openly, and we can make decisions. So I just didn't like that reference, and what happened in Flint, the law changed, but there's some folks in Lansing went overboard. I went up to a hearing, took my own absentee, and passed it around to every legislature sitting up there in the hearing and said, now I'm ready to start, but y'all had my ballot in y'all hand and all of y'all just committed a felony. And they the ones who make the state law, and they passed it around and look. So when I say it's something to discuss, it's really something to discuss. And that's what I want to do. And so regardless of what's happening, I'm a councilman. I know what we have to administer budgets and what we have to do to run policy and run this city. And I understand state and federal election law, but never cheat yourself out of a real discussion. So I'm asking that it be on there. I'm asking that law be pulled, Mr. Erickson, Madam Clerk, and I look forward to a healthy discussion, hopefully, since it didn't show up here in the next governmental hour.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Ms. Fields?
I was just going to suggest to Mr. Guerra, I don't know, of course, because your description was very brief, but this neighborhood task force is that before you get it, before the next government ops, you get with Ms. Wilcox to find out exactly how the system currently works for referrals between code enforcement. I do believe they are working on something, but the blight framework and the code enforcement, and they're currently working on something, I don't know what the name of it is, but trying to improve the whole code enforcement portion of it. And I just would suggest you get a little more information before it's discussed.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss, 1 second, please, Madam Clerk. I would like to request a special order at the next Special Affairs Committee meeting, Evina. I would like to discuss the Rizzo payment from March 8th of 2018, and for finances and for legal. I'm hoping that this payment can be used as a educational opportunity for this council and this community for governmental oversight and checks and balances of finances. The payment was for $200,984. In my research, I understand that it didn't qualify for council vote, even though it was over $75,000. So in my opinion, I don't want to get into it today, but I think it's a perfect example for this community and this legislative body to be educated on what is to be presented before us and what is not as we move forward in our finances. And also, it was said that we had a legal obligation to pay it. I want to know if there was an executive session that was requested and whether or not I attended that special executive session or not. And so that is the special order.
Madam Chair,
Whoever, can I
point
please,
of information.
what's your point of information?
Why would you put that on special affairs versus a committee?
Because it's the committee that I'm on, and I thought that I had the ability to ask. It doesn't affect finances because it's already been paid. And so, do I have to put it on one of the committees because we're not working through it?
Madam Chair,
Councilman May, well, wait. So Davina, do you have that's my request. If there's something in our legislative laws and rules that say that I have to put it on a certain committee, I will yield to that in writing. If not, that's my request. And so,
Madam Chair.
Councilman Mays,
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
not
think you
done,
gonna,
but I'm gonna yield to you.
well, thank you. I don't think you're gonna find nothing in writing. It's just that special affairs is an hour meeting. And it's to touch up some stuff that we didn't get touched up.
Point
per
of
se.
information, Councilman Mays.
Well, no, I go back and forth with you.
So why is it okay for you to do a special order on special affairs for
It
voting?
wasn't a special order, it was a discussion item, and we still
Okay.
wanted it out of
I
your own
just-
time,
go
and
ahead.
we discussed it, but that's the point, trying to get out of special affairs. If you look at the last special order that I even supported you on, it went way too long and got out of hand, in my opinion. So I'm thinking that you would be better off discussing this in finance or governmental ops or whatever, but you don't want to put it, in my opinion, on special affairs. Mr. Newsom seemed to want to chime in too.
Okay,
But that's my position.
okay.
You can put it on there because as chair, you can put anything on your agenda. I agree with that. You ain't gonna find nothing in writing that say you can't. But is that really what you wanna do when you see what special affairs is? Even the last one you did, we moved the meeting up to give more time. But really, we got opportunity in our committee. Now, if you doing it just because you want to chair it, when it get to that discussion in finance, I can turn it over to you.
That don't benefit me, thank you.
But what is the reason then for special
okay,
affairs
that's fine,
versus
Charles.
regular committee? Because if that's the reason,
Okay, too.
I'll turn you
Big
loose
time.
on it in finance.
I
It's
would
a
like
way
to
to
too.
do it,
You
but
won't
that's
like it all.
really the proper arena. But even before I start talking, Mr. Newsom wanted to
You
chime.
will
Big
when we're
time.
done.
Okay, so what you think about that?
Well, I can move it to governmental ops, if he doesn't have, and I'm willing to move it if it seems like, and I'm not in a rush, but you can put it on whatever committee you want, because it doesn't benefit me to put it on special affairs, because I'm chairing, because based on the chairmanship, I wouldn't get to ask the questions that I want with freedom anyway, so it would benefit me to have it under Councilman Guerra, so that I could have my way with my questions. And so if his committee isn't full, but I would not want it on this next governmental ops because I probably will not be here for that meeting. So if it can be the first governmental ops in October, that would be beneficial to me as well. And so, is that okay with you?
That's okay
If
with
you
me.
have another special order, I will not have it. If they already
You-
have a special order, I don't need it on there.
Point of
So it's not in
information.
a rush.
Point of
What's
information.
your
You
point
want
of
a special
information?
order or discussion item?
I'd like it to be a priority, so special order would work for me.
Okay.
So the
And
first one in
Madam Chair,
October. Councilman Mays?
Finally, let me say this. If you
Oh, I'm sorry,
discuss it-
no, Councilman Mays, please forgive me. Ms. Fields, you did ask to be
Well, I was
acknowledged. I will
still
get it.
going, and I was looking at Newsom. That's been a practice when we talk and we acquiesce. It's been a practice. Now, you talking about what you won't have the opportunity to discuss in finance. I'm waiting to hear it. I don't mind it in governmental ops, but you seem to make it clear that you wouldn't have certain freedoms, and you feel like you'll have them
Point of
under
information.
governmental ops.
Councilman Mays,
Maybe I heard
are you
wrong.
aware that I said if I chaired, I would not have the freedom? Because
Okay,
I'm
then I
chairing a
misunderstood
committee.
you, but
That's
you're
what I
talking
said.
about a financial issue, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm just listening and I'm watching, and that's my job, to discuss what should be in special affairs versus finance versus government
Point
operations.
of information. Councilman Mays, would you like it to be on finance? Because as the chair, you would have less to say as much as I would, and I'm fine with that.
I was just listening to it. I would have no objections to it if it's a
Davina,
finance.
if there's nothing
Ms.
on,
Galloway.
well, no, I just want to change it to finance, the first finance in October, Davina, please, thank you.
Ms. Galloway.
Councilman, well, no, Councilman Mays, please forgive me, I overlooked Ms. Fields.
I can wait, and I'm not sure Mr. Newsom can wait. We'll wait.
And
I can't
Mr.
speak for
Newsom, you just
I
said,
can only
you
speak for
said.
when I got the
Okay.
floor and I asked something. I can wait, and so I'm
Thank
asking
you, Mr.
that.
Mays. I
we
promise
both
I'm gonna
wait,
get back to
Mr.
you.
Newsom.
Ms. Fields, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I have a referral, Mr. Reed, for the Law Department to provide counsel prior to this special order with a copy of the judge's order during that, I don't know what you would call it, but the court action that went on, that the judge's order stated that since we already had a contract with Republic, we were to continue with Republic. And I'd like you, especially not only to get it to all council people, but since Mr. Newsom wasn't here, I don't think Mr. Newsom has the full scope of information. And I read his rationale for why he paid this bill, but I think there was information that Mr. Newsom didn't have that I think is pretty important for him to have.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would move to adjourn special affairs at this time.
There's a motion to adjourn. Mr. Guerra.
I'll second that
It
motion.
is seconded. We are, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose, extensions, we are adjourned. Sorry about that, Ms. Madam Clerk, I was gonna get back to you. I just was trying to get everything done.
Go downstairs.
All right, people, if we have 5 people at 5:30, we're going to start our meeting.
Would you do me a favor?
Yes.
Would you put this at my place up there, so I don't have to carry it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at this one. Thank you.
Oh, here it is.
Call me Sunday.
You may be, or